JB here. Hope everyone's doing an outstanding Monday, March 17th, 8:57 a.m. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P looks like markets are reversing slightly in the green this morning. A future were lower pretty much the entire overnight session. Started to bounce a little bit in the pre-market till about 7 o'clock, came to flat, then back down, and then we just had a bounce at 8:30 after the retail sales number came in worse than expected, but still positive. So I guess that's any not so bad news is good news now. We'll have to see how that all plays out, but I kind of prefer lower opens on for reversals, right, as opposed to gapping higher and then just seeing that those gains melt throughout the day. So we'll see how today plays out. We're right there at that 563 spot. That's a huge area, or at least seems to be a battleground recently. And then some charts, and I've been posting. I mean, the more charts you look at, there a lot of these are pinching, and I posted this in a watch list this morning. I put on FinTwit too, but I mean, the SPY is so rare, and I was saying it last week too, to see an ETF pinching, which means it's extremely oversold conditions to the point that once we do get a relief bounce, or even if it's a longer duration bounce, it's going to be a substantial bounce. It's not going to be one of these just, like we had Friday, we had a 2% rally. It's going to be a couple 1, 2, 3% rallies back to back, if it plays out, right? It's not 100% guarantee, but it's definitely something to watch. So this week's a big one. So we have the Fed meeting on Wednesday. There's not markets pricing pretty much 100% probability that there's going to be no rate cut. Pretty much pricing in no rate cut at the May meeting. The one after that, I think it's the June meeting. There's like a 60% probability the market's pricing in that there's going to be a 1/4% rate cut. So that'll be big to hear what Powell has to say, especially in the face of all the uncertainty right now with the market. Are they going to spin the tone, change the tone just a tad bit dovish? Maybe that will help support markets. Then also starting today, and then the big keynote speech is tomorrow. NVIDIA's GTC conference, their worldwide AI conference, starts today. I think it runs for a couple of days, but the big catalyst or potential catalyst is Jensen at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. So the live stream link is already up on their website. I'll post it in the chat room because I'm definitely gonna be listening. Not only is he going to be talking about his company, but he's giving shout outs to other companies. Last year was Dell. I mean, he's done Dell before. There'll be other announcements and things that might move not only just the overall semi sector as a whole, but some individual names. Definitely something to be paying attention to. GDP now numbers come out about after 10 o'clock today. So that'll be interesting. It was down negative 2.8% was the first revision 2 weeks ago. Then that was revised up to negative 2.4% for a forecast for possible GDP, the first quarter GDP result. It'll be interesting what this revision comes out. Hopefully it trends back towards the positive territory, but I wouldn't rule anything out here with all the uncertainty, right? The U word. I think that continues to be a possible headwind for markets until we get some certainty around the uncertainty. So the resolution is the tariff situation, whether there's going to be rollbacks, scalebacks, or if businesses have more line of sight to what the impacts will be. Until that happens, I think the markets will remain choppy. All right, so that's overall And then I always talk about my support resistance lines, and I draw these in. These aren't. I don't just draw them in this morning or yesterday or over the weekend. These are in there over weeks and months and years. And you look, and 552 looks like a huge support line, right? So I would not want to see that break this week, because I think if that happens, then 540 is coming in, possible bear market. And speaking of bear markets, nice little. I always love historicals, and this is from Ryan Dietrich. He always posts great stuff. But the amount of times the market goes into a 10% correction since 1950 and doesn't enter a bear market, returns are in the green over the next year. So if you fast forward a year from now, gains, the market's in the green. So doesn't really, we obviously the big caveat there is that we have to not get into a bear market. And if we don't, then that bodes well for market returns. And then, I always look at the silver linings, the VIX, which big 12% or 11.7% down day on Friday. Just you look relative to the other moves sell-offs we had this year, over the past year, at least over the past 8 to 10 months, back in August, at the end of December. Like muted, right? You would think with markets hit correction, you would think the VIX would be substantially higher. It isn't. And I keep saying maybe the 0 day to expiration options out there, the huge volume that goes on the SPX and all that. Maybe that's skewing some of the VIX right now. Hard to read through, but certainly gives me a little more, uh, I guess, not as fearful about the market taking a tumble here, but can't rule anything out. All right, that's the overall market. So it's kind of catalyst this week. So now some individual names, and I talked about XYZ on the watch list. Finally back in those calls on Friday. Started to run over 57 in the morning, then just couldn't break 57.50, pull back, closed at 57.22. Announced this morning another rollout of their Afterpay program with their Cash App. I don't know if that's going to be a catalyst for the stock, but hey, looks like it's not negative news, so I'll take it. Big spot. So if it breaks 57.50, I think it's headed into the 60s and beyond, maybe 65 plus. It's going to need the market to cooperate, obviously. But again, another name, you take a look at this chart. I mean, it's pinching, right? And what the key area of a pinch, when we're in the midst of a pinch, that's when the pinch starts to spread apart. It looks like Square is on the cusp of doing that. Square, block, XYZ, whatever you want to call it. So, I want to see it break 57.50 here today or tomorrow, and then I think it's off to the races. Intel's gap in this morning. I was on Rant on Friday talking about disappointment that there was no follow through, but on the flip side, consolidation after the CEO announcement, I think that bodes well too. So you can take that as a positive. And then we have the next leg. So maybe this next leg takes us to 26 in the next couple sessions. If it holds here, maybe 24.50 or so at the open, I might look for some more strikes to play for upside. I was mentioning on the Rant on Friday as well. The concerning thing here is it seems like there's a lot of people in this Intel bullish boat, right? And when everybody's in the same boat going in the same direction, it usually doesn't bode well at some point for a stock. But hey, maybe considering where Intel's been, what it can be, if there's at least the sum of their parts valuation starts to come to fruition. I mean, I think it trades much higher, but certainly not loading the boat or what have you. And that would be just in the back of my head, a little concerned that there's too many people on board them. All right, so that's Intel. Then some other names still. My VKTX call is going to need to start really starting to take off here, or my premium is going to start getting hurt. Today, tomorrow, we want to see it over at its 50-day moving average 32.61. Then I think it heads 35 plus. And similar, BIDU was looking great on Thursday. Looked like it was going to break and hold 95.75. Was trading over 96. And then just gave it back on Friday. Just kind of disappointing. It's up again here this morning. I guess they announced some new iterations of their AI models. I don't know if that's going to do much. It's not a negative, but you take a look at where it is, 95.75. I think if it breaks over that today, I think it trades over 100 in the next day or two. So don't be surprised if I add some more strikes. Going to need it to move a heck of a lot quicker for the rest of my strikes there. And then some other names. Of course, Arista I was looking at. I was actually looking at Lotto's Friday afternoon, but passed Friday morning. That's gapping up over 85 here this morning, closed at 83.51. Been trading that one for the last couple weeks. Don't be surprised if it's back on the radar again today. Some other bounce plays, URI. At some point, you take a look at the longer the base, the higher in space, whatever they say, and take a look at this base. It's formed around 580, 600 over the last week and a half. If that starts to go, I think it heads up near $700. So that could be a good bounce play. And then I keep mentioning is TKO, and then it's tough for me to wrap my head around. Like Friday's move, the stock was trading all the way up near 144, and then 2 o'clock hit 130. It just sold off into the red. $6 reversal on no news, no catalyst. I don't know if it's still some people churning through their profits, but I'm not going to try and catch a falling knife. But definitely a name I would kind of want to nibble some calls on at some point, especially if the market finds footing. I think that's it, folks. And then on the flip side, so 558 is probably the line in the sand for me to start adding some hedge spec puts, which I've done the last couple of weeks. Monday and Tuesday have been my put hedge days. Similar, I'll be looking at JP Morgan, Goldman Spectacular, then other names which I kind of wish I'd traded for some spec puts. I missed the Ralph Lauren train. That started to bounce, so maybe back in RL, I might look at some of those. And the thing is, we're nearing March expiration, which is good because Ralph Lauren only has monthly option expiration. So now it's pretty much weekly expirations. And then also, I was talking about Restoration Hardware. So that actually looks like a crazy pinch. It just, again, uncertainty with that name. So that one's a little tougher because you don't know what's going to go on with the tariffs and what have you. Anyway, let's have a great day. I'll be back, especially if the market gets crazy during the noon hour. I'll be on. Otherwise, I'll be on in the afternoon. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.